Hello, my amazing artist. In this video, we will learn how to create our very own Paul Klee inspired cityscapes. So to review, a cityscape is a drawing or a picture of a city. This is the Austin, Texas skyline, and if we look closely, you can tell that it is made up of a lot of lines that have connected to form shapes. So look closely, and I see lines that go up and down, and these lines are called vertical lines. I also see some lines that go side to side. I see a lot of them, and those are called horizontal lines. And there's even lines that go up and down to the side, or down to the side and up, and those are diagonal lines. Now all these lines connect and they form shapes. These are very geometric shapes, which are typically what you see in a cityscape. And so I'm really going to have the image next to me, but for a reference. But I'm going to create this and make it my own because I am the artist. And so I encourage you to make this your own cityscape. Use lines, horizontal, vertical, diagonal lines. You could even use curved lines too. I'm going to have mostly straight lines here because I like the look. And I'm just going to keep building. So I don't really have too much of a plan here. I am looking at the Austin, Texas skyline, the image of it, but I'm going to make it my own. Now, as you can tell, I'm using Sharpie to draw. If you feel more comfortable using pencil first, do that. But if you want to just go for it and use Sharpie, you can do that as well. Now notice how I am putting some of the buildings in front and they're small. So my lines are closer together and they're shorter. But then some of the lines are bigger and more spread apart. Those are going to be more in the background or the distance. This is going to create some space, an illusion of space, which is really cool in a cityscape that makes it look more realistic. Now, since I am inspired by Paul Klee, and as we learned, he is an artist very famous for being a part of the Cubist movement. So Cubism is when you take images and you break them down into shapes. So I'm really focusing on the lines that I see and how to use lines to create shapes that represent these buildings. Okay, I'm skipping forward a bit here, but first step is to just draw the outside edges of the building. Try to draw those contour lines so you get a feeling for what the skyline or your cityscape looks like. Then is what I think the most fun part. We're going to go and add some details. So I'm using lines to break up the shapes even further. This is going to add some variety, some interest to your art, and I am looking at the reference image for inspiration. Okay, now that my lines are all done, we're going to use the color wheel and add some color. So we're going to focus on warm colors and cool colors. For my foreground, which is the city, I'm going to use warm colors. For the background, I'm going to use cool colors. And I will be using watercolor for this activity, but you could really use whatever you would like. You can use marker, crayon, colored pencil, even oil pastel would look really beautiful. But because I drew with Sharpie, I can now add watercolor on top and it won't move the Sharpie lines at all. That's because the Sharpie is permanent. Water is not going to affect it. So as I am placing my colors, I'm using only warm colors for the buildings, which is in the foreground. But as I'm choosing where to place the red, I'm trying to create movement in my art. Movement is how we get around in a work of art. Where does your eye take you and where do you look? So if I place the red throughout the skyline, it's going to cause the viewer to look at my entire cityscape. That is super effective. So what I would do is focus on one color at a time, try to place it in various places throughout your cityscape, then choose a new color and repeat. Something fun is you might want to start to create patterns with your colors. You might want to just fill in little tiny details with one color and then choose another color. It's maybe you just want to color in one building completely one color. It's really up to you, but I'm thinking about Paul Klee and his cityscapes, and he uses a lot of various colors. He has a lot of movement, and so I'm trying to do something in that same style. Okay, now check this out. Because I'm using watercolor, it dries really quickly. You can go back over that same color with the same color and look how much brighter that looks. It really pops, it stands out. You could even create patterns with this. It's a great way to just really level up your art, take it up a level, and make those colors really bright and pop. Okay, let's move on to the background. So since I used warm colors in the foreground, I need to use the opposite for the background. So I'm using cool colors. Now look at what I'm doing. I am outlining the building first. This is so that my paint doesn't run into the building and bleed. Bleed is when colors mix together, and I don't want that for this project. So I'm going to very carefully outline. Then I will fill in the rest of this space with blue paint. Now I'm switching to a bigger brush. This has wider bristles, they're thicker. That's gonna cover up more space quickly. And there you go, artist. This is my finished product of a Paul Klee inspired cityscape. I hope you have fun, take chances, and stay curious.